Wayne, it's all yours.
Bullet Vinaka. Yes, I'm Wame from
Wame,
Fiji.
Wame, Wame.
That's correct. I teach at the USP. Um, I will be just sharing my slides shortly. I uh, have an MA in Pacific Studies and unfinished business at the PhD. Um, I I think that most Pacific researchers should be familiar with Talanoa. It is already a, um, a research methodology. Some in research they argue that it is a research method. So in this talk, I'm just going to uh, add on what is already out there about Talanoa, but with a little twist. Uh, I'm calling it Talanoa at the Tanoa. I have just shared my slides, and I hope that you can see. Um, there in the picture is an example of a Talanoa at the Tanoa here in Fiji. So you see the wooden bowl here. That is what we call the Tanoa, and what is happening here is they are having what we call a isebu sebu. This is something that hosts will present to their visitors, to their guests upon arrival as a welcome. And in the tanoa is a mixture, kava mix. It comes from Pipermethyricum plant, that is commonly found in the Pacific, and because it is used as a traditional drink in the Pacific, we normally just would harvest the plant and clean and dry the roots and the stems and pound them, crush them and mixed in water, and it's a social drink too. It's something that we use in ceremonies and also as a social drink. If I am going to invite a friend over for a tanoa, like you see in this picture, what that means is I'm asking you to come in and sit and have a talanoa with me, or just to talk together. What I would like to say at the start is the Talanoa at the Talanoa for Fijian is not a Vei Talanoa. There is a difference here. The Vei Talanoa, the Vei VEI in Vei Talanoa, it speaks to reciprocity, the communal or the collective, and so in a Talanoa at the Talanoa, I like to think of it as many people coming together and becoming one. And so what conversation then happens around the Talanoa is is becomes something more like a self-talk. We come as here in this picture, you have three people, but as they come and sit and share from the Talanoa, they simply become one, and so that in that oneness, they are talking and sharing. So for Fijian, when we invite to have a talanoa, that is the idea. It is coming together and becoming one, and from here this is the place where we reach agreements, consensus. This was my abstract. The co-founder of the Polynesian Voyaging Society, Herbert Kawenui Gainey, he once said that the canoe or the waka was a central object in Polynesian society, an object without which there would have been no Polynesian. The same is true for Fijians, or was true for Fijians. When voyaging took a pause about a millennium ago, possibly due to a climatic event, um, clay pot production would have stopped alongside it. Um, um, the return of the forests after the climatic event, just around the time Europeans discovered and explored the Pacific, with that came the revival of canoe construction and voyaging. And this was possibly the time too that Tanoa found its form and function in the Pacific to mix and to serve kava, and which we consider to be the drink of the land. Um, so in most conversations and discussions that we have today around Tanoa, you'll be just hearing the negatives. So in this presentation, I hope to present uh, um, that there is a positive in kava, and to argue for the use of kava um, in research, in Pacific research. Um, as I discovered, a right amount of kava in the blood slowed urine production and gave you more time to maximize on daylight hours if you were a builder or a navigator. Um, Kava was ceremonial. It is now a social drink. Um, However, it remains as the preferred drink to share with visitors. Fijian ceremonies reflect Fijian worldview. Motivated by that, I then tasked myself with studying Fijian ceremonies, beginning with the one that I showed in the first picture, the Isewu Sewu, that we offer to visitors. Um, it was there when studying the Isewu Sewu that I discovered how the talanoa at the tanoa, or the talk at the tanoa, after presenting your Isewu Sewu, of course, held wisdom to inform and transform both pedagogy and methodology. Uh, to use the Talanoa at the Tanoa, my Talanoa at the Tanoa version as a research method or methodology is to understand its inner workings. The Tongan meaning of Talanoa is what most of us know, which translates loosely to something like telling nothing, or to talk with no agenda. The Fijian Talanoa um, to analyze the concepts Talanoa and Tanoa from a Fijian standpoint. This is what they mean. It is about moving what is there, what exists, and Tanoa would mean to make what is there. So in the picture here, you see a newly crafted Tanoa from a workshop, and so when we look at most of you would have noticed that how these two words rhyme, Talanoa and Tanoa, and the common concept in both Talanoa and Tanoa from a Fijian standpoint is Noa, and that is it is critical to using the Talanoa and the Tanoa as method or methodology to understand what the Noa is. Noah for us is a reference to yesterday, or so it's a reference to the past. It's a reference to what is, or to something that exists, to an artifact. Noah, it means it is sitting there, it is right there. And so when I say that it is critical to have this understanding of Noah before I can begin to use Talanoa at the Tanoa, because Talanoa, or to talk together, is from a Fijian standpoint, is to move what is in conversation or physically, and also to at the Tanoa, that is where we are making um, um, what is uh, to try and make sense of this. We can think of this Tanoa that you see over here. They are four-legged Tanoa. I can see one here, two. There are six-legged Tanoa. Now the form is the Tanoa, and every time we use it, or every time the Tanoa functions in what it's intended to do, it is still called a Tanoa. And so, in a sense, the tanoa that you see in this picture is made twice. Is made first by the craftsmen who made it, and it's made tanoa again every time we use it to mix and share kava. And this is what I'd like to point out here in this uh, Fijian way of understanding tanoa to make what is. And so at the tanoa, you can say that you can think of it as we are moving things in conversation or even physically, and where we are making things at the same time. I like to rethink it as moving history where we are making history. Sometimes it helps me to see it that way. Um, so for someone who has been using Tanoa at the Tanoa as as a way of decolonizing methodology, because I hope to come up with decolonizing findings to help my people. I found that these two what I call methods when I'm using the Talanoa at the Tanoa, very basic in any conversation. We the two things that drive the conversation would be the asking of the questions and explanations. And so to keep it going, we're sitting around the tanoa for 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours or even longer. And the only thing that drives it is when people are talking, asking questions, and some are trying to explain. And so I found those as I later developed those as research methods to use if one is using the Talanoa methodology. The word wakatataro, meaning inquiry here, and wakamadala, meaning explanation. So again, they reveal the two things that anyone must focus on when we are using the Talno at the Talno methodology, and that is to focus on the Taro and the Thala. The Taro are the questions, and the Thala are the errors. And when I look at it as a Fijian, what it is saying that at the Talanoa, when we're having a Talanoa at the Tanoa, I'm focusing on Taro or questions asked, and I'm also focusing on Thala, because when I'm explaining, I essentially I am trying to eliminate errors. Now, what I'm sharing with you here is words that mean inquiry and explanation, in which I said earlier basically what happens when we sit at the tanoa to have a tanoa, and which is why I see this as potentially a research methodology. I learned valuable lessons from artisans. I had to prepare just a short set of slides because I have 15 minutes. The biggest challenge in the Talanoa methodology, or method, if you like, to use it in research, is to argue for the use of cover in research. Like I said, currently, it's just the negatives of cover that people like to talk about. From artisans, what I've learned is cover is always a part of their practice. That they would always have a little mix somewhere, and that they would be drinking while they are working and covering. For them, the significance of cover in their practice is more like spiritual. It connects them to land, to people. It connects them to the ancestors. But for me, as someone who's trying to understand it scientifically, what I found, as I said earlier in my first presentation, is that the effect of kava on the body, the right amount of kava in the body slows down urine production, and it kind of makes you sit longer at what you're working at and complete it. And that is basically why too voyages, I still see voyages today, Fijian voyages, they would still have a mix while they are going in the island, and yeah, to help the body to retain water when you're out there at sea. And so finding this was significant for my research, because I had something positive about about kava to argue for. And secondly, there is uh, uh, um, a professor here in Fiji who wrote about silence as a way of knowing, and building on her work, I can argue that kava does help the body to become still or to be in silence. And so for someone who has used Talanoa at the Tanoa, meaning who uses cover in his research, I can say for sure that it does help you relax, and in that relaxed position, body, mind relaxed. When I go into my sleep and when I wake the next morning to begin to write, I find that I'm writing deep thought. And I had to look for another way uh, to reach out to my people, because in my MA, I tried to walk into the Talanoa, at the Talanoa, bringing with me a voice recorder and a notepad, and I realized that it didn't work in that setting. The voice recorder and the notepad, they distract the participants, particularly because I was researching with men, older men, and so when I bring a voice recorder or a notepad, they would not talk so much, as if I just came there myself. And so in my PhD fieldwork, I decided I was going to just walk in and sit in with them and drink kava with them. And then I realized that, yes, indeed, kava does bring you into that place of stillness, spiritual stillness, if you like, so that when you go into your sleep, into dream time, and you wake, I begin to write the morning after reflection. I find myself reaching deeper into what I call deep thought, things that I would not really be able to see if kava, I would say, was not a part of my research. And this is something that I'm still working on building, because the opposition to kava is in the Pacific is strong. Yes, they are raising some good points. Too much of it is not good for the health. But what I'm arguing for here is what I'm beginning to see, even in my own home. When I prepared this set of slides, I just called my daughters and we had a little cover mix, and they sat there, and while I was working on the slides, they were working on their karaoke skills, and their mother was working on her craft. And so we as a family, we have seen how the Talanoa at the Tanoa could be very productive and constructive at the same time. So yes, thank you so much for your time. That's very briefly what Talanoa at the Tanoa is to me as a Fijian researcher. And yeah, time for questions.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Maybe I'll just give you some small insight. It's very interesting because kava in Poland is also like a coffee time social experience where we get together with our family members and chat together about the coffees involved. So I was listening and thinking about actually my home. It was quite interesting. And I have just one question. What did surprise you the most during your own research when you were using Talanoa and Tanoa? Is there something which really surprised you in your research?
Oh yeah, a lot, because I really had to go out of my way to be able to understand the ways of my people. I grew up basically a Pentecostal Christian, and we Pentecostals, we don't drink kava, and so uh, it was only in my 40s that when I decided, okay, I wanted to be up close to my people, to the people who could keep the tradition. the old tradition. And so I decided, me and my family, we were going to become Methodists because Methodists drink kava. And of course, I came into the research only knowing the negative things they said about kava. I did not realize that was what surprised me, that when I am consuming kava 3 hours, 4 hours, and I go to sleep. When I wake the next morning to begin to write on my reflections, very, very deep thought. I come to things that I that don't happen to me when I'm before, when I used to, but when cover was not a part of my research. So yes, I think that was the biggest surprise for me when I discovered that Talanoa at Tano could actually be productive.
I'm sure you get more questions when we share your presentation. Hopefully, from that can platform, you will get some connections from other researchers, because it was very, very interesting. And thank you so much.